Hey there, fellow soil enthusiasts! If you've been following along with Soil Sage Chronicles, you know I'm passionate about helping gardeners create thriving raised bed systems. But here's the thing. I've made every mistake in the book, and I've watched countless gardeners struggle with the same issues that could easily be avoided. Today, we're diving deep into the 10 most common raised bed mistakes that might be sabotaging your garden's success. Don't worry, every single one of these is completely fixable, and I'm going to show you exactly how to turn your raised bed challenges into victories. Let's start with the foundation, literally. One of the biggest mistakes I see gardeners make is building raised beds that are either too wide or positioned incorrectly for their space. The golden rule? You should be able to reach the center of your bed from either side without stepping on the soil. For most of us, that means keeping beds to about 4 feet wide maximum. I learned this the hard way when I built my first 6-foot wide bed and found myself doing an awkward stretch and lean routine just to harvest my tomatoes. Not only was it uncomfortable, but I was also compacting the soil every time I reached across. The fix is simple. Stick to 3 to 4 feet wide for beds you can access from both sides, or 2 to 3 feet wide for beds against walls or fences. Your back will thank you, and your plants will appreciate the uncompacted soil. Here's where things get really interesting, and where I see the most dramatic failures. Poor drainage is the silent killer of raised bed gardens. You might think that elevation automatically equals good drainage, but that's not always the case. I remember visiting a gardener who was frustrated because her beautiful raised beds kept losing plants to root rot. The problem? She had built her beds directly on compacted clay soil without any drainage layer. Water was pooling at the bottom, creating a soggy mess that no plant could survive. The solution involves creating a drainage layer at the bottom of your bed. Start with a few inches of coarse material like gravel or broken pottery shards. If you're dealing with particularly heavy clay soil underneath, consider adding some sand to the mix. This creates a transition zone that allows excess water to move away from your plant roots while still maintaining good soil structure above. This is where I see gardeners either go too cheap or too expensive, and honestly, both approaches can cause problems. The too cheap crowd fills their beds with whatever soil they can get their hands on, often heavy clay or sandy soil that doesn't provide the drainage and nutrition plants need. The too expensive crowd goes overboard with premium potting soil, which can actually drain too quickly and require constant watering. The sweet spot is a balanced mix that I call the 1/3 rule. Fill your bed with 1/3 compost, 1/3 quality topsoil, and 1/3 coarse amendment like perlite or coarse sand. This creates a growing medium that holds moisture when plants need it but drains well enough to prevent root problems. I've been using this ratio for years, and it consistently produces healthy, productive plants across all my raised beds. The key is sourcing quality materials. Spend a little more on good compost and topsoil, and your plants will reward you with better growth and higher yields. Depth matters more than most gardeners realize. And skimping on soil depth is a mistake that will limit your garden's potential from day one. I see too many raised beds that are only 6 to 8 inches deep, which might work for lettuce and herbs, but will struggle with most vegetables. Different plants have different root depth requirements, and understanding this is crucial for success. Leafy greens like spinach and lettuce can thrive in 6 to 8 inches of soil, but tomatoes, peppers, and root vegetables need at least 12 to 18 inches to develop properly. Carrots and parsnips need even more, up to 24 inches for long varieties. When planning your beds, think about what you want to grow and build accordingly. If you're planning a mixed vegetable garden, aim for at least 12 to 15 inches of depth. This gives you flexibility to grow a wide variety of crops without limitation. Location can really make or break your raised bed success, and honestly, I've seen gardeners struggle for years, simply because they didn't consider sun exposure, water access, and convenience when positioning their beds. Most vegetables need about 6 to 8 hours of direct sunlight each day, so, placing your beds in a partially shaded area will definitely limit what you can grow successfully. I learned this lesson the hard way when I positioned my first bed in what I thought was a sunny spot, only to realize later it was shaded by my neighbor's tree for most of the afternoon. Water access is equally important. Raised beds tend to dry out faster than ground-level gardens, so you'll find yourself watering more frequently. It's a good idea to position your beds within easy reach of a water source or, plan for an irrigation system from the very beginning. The excitement of a new raised bed often leads to overcrowding, cramming way too many plants into the available space. This mistake reduces air circulation, increases competition for nutrients, and honestly makes pest and disease problems a lot more likely. Each plant really needs adequate space to develop its root system and canopy. When plants are crowded, they compete for resources and usually produce smaller, less flavorful harvests. I've found that following spacing recommendations and even giving plants a little extra room leads to healthier, more productive gardens. Watering raised beds requires a different approach than traditional gardens. The elevated nature and improved drainage mean they dry out faster, especially during hot weather. Now, a lot of gardeners either underwater, which leads to stressed plants, or overwater, and that can create root problems. The key here is developing a consistent watering routine that provides deep, thorough irrigation. I recommend watering early in the morning, applying water slowly and deeply until you see it beginning to drain from the bottom. This really encourages deep root development and helps your plants better withstand those dry periods. Consider installing a drip irrigation system or soaker hoses for consistent moisture delivery. These systems apply water directly to the soil, reducing evaporation and keeping the foliage dry, which helps prevent disease problems. Raised bed soil needs ongoing attention throughout the growing season and beyond. Many gardeners fill their beds once and then ignore soil health, which leads to declining fertility and structure over time. Your soil is alive and it needs regular feeding to maintain its productivity. I add compost to my beds at least twice a year, a thick layer in fall and a lighter application in spring. This feeds the soil organisms that make nutrients available to your plants and maintains the soil structure that roots need to thrive. And hey, don't forget about pH either. Most vegetables, they really prefer slightly acidic to neutral soil, somewhere around pH 6.0 to 7.0. It's a good idea to test your soil every year and adjust it as needed, using lime to raise the pH or sulfur to lower it. Raised beds can actually concentrate pest and disease problems if you're not careful. The close proximity of plants and the tendency to grow the same crops in the same beds year after year can, honestly, create ideal conditions for problems to develop and spread. Crop rotation is just as important in raised beds as it is in traditional gardens. So, avoid planting the same family of vegetables in the same bed year after year. This simple practice really helps break pest and disease cycles and keeps your soil healthy. Good garden hygiene is equally important. Remove spent plants promptly, keep your beds weed-free, and try to avoid working in wet conditions that can spread diseases. These simple practices, believe it or not, prevent most common problems before they even start. The final mistake is thinking that raised beds are maintenance-free once they're built and filled. Like any garden system, raised beds need ongoing care to perform their best. Wood beds will eventually need replacement or repair. Be sure to check for loose boards, rotting corners, or other structural issues each season. Metal beds can develop rust spots that need attention. Composite materials are more durable, but, they still benefit from regular cleaning and inspection. Plan for soil replacement and amendment over time. Even the best soil mix will settle and lose volume as organic matter decomposes. It's a good idea to budget for adding new soil and compost annually to maintain proper bed depth and soil health. These 10 mistakes might seem overwhelming, but remember, every experienced gardener has made these errors and learned from them. The beauty of gardening is that there's always next season to apply what you've learned and improve your results. Start by evaluating your current raised beds against this list. Pick one or two areas that need the most attention and focus on those first. Small improvements made consistently over time will transform your garden's productivity and your enjoyment of the growing process. Your raised bed garden has incredible potential. Don't let these common mistakes hold you back from experiencing the joy of growing your own food in healthy, productive soil. If this article helped you identify areas for improvement in your raised bed setup, I'd love to hear about your experiences in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to Soil Sage Chronicles for more practical gardening wisdom that you can put to work in your own garden. Share this article with fellow gardeners who might be struggling with similar challenges. Together, we can help more people experience the satisfaction of successful raised bed gardening.